Hey, housewives, come on in. You know the dirty dishes are still in the sink from yesterday and the laundry is still in the basket. Pop your AirPods in and make yourself at home here.
I'm Tracy.
I'm Tori.
And we are your Unlikely Housewives. Stepping out in faith and believing that God calls the unlikely, we are here to show you the appreciation and validation you deserve, lead you to authentic relationships, and release you of believing the cultural lies to restore your faith and wellness.
Pull up those high-waisted yoga pants, tighten your top knot, and reheat your coffee for the third time. Turn up the volume, and let's go. Hey, housewives.
Welcome back.
We're so glad you're here. I was just telling Tracy, it's just our conversation with Amy, our episode from last week. And oh my gosh, you guys, if that's not one to listen to again.
More than once. Yes. And if you haven't, please go listen. She poured her heart out about her struggles with just the years of loving her body well and trying to find the right space. And she's still in the struggle, but at least has so much more clarity and sees how God is using every piece of it. And it was so refreshing to, again, align a little bit with some of the things she was saying. I was like nodding and going, yeah, so felt that.
Right. And it's definitely a conversation that needs to be had in the light more often, not just in the between our ears, because so often we're fighting ourselves about it. So to have that conversation with a friend, sorry, Amy, you're now attached to us.
Yes.
We have your phone number. Ha 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 ha. But like, it was just so good. Like, oh my gosh, like it's powerful stuff. So if you haven't listened to it, before you listen to this one for sure, definitely go back because that episode kind of sets up what our topic is today.
Yeah. And I think we really wanted to just break this down, just talking about loving our body well. And there's a lot of pieces that go to it, and we're not going to answer them all. But we're just going to kind of talk about some of the things that we've walked through. We've been in the health and wellness industry for a while. And then when you become a mom and you start caring for your children and their health, there is a lot of pieces that go into that when you start, meal planning and making sure they're getting plenty of activity and sleep and water and all the things.
They sound like house plants.
kind of are, right?
Yeah, there's not a house plant I could ever keep alive.
Oh.
Would you know there is actually, and this is the only reason because it's so random, there is a plant in my dad's office, okay, that my parents have had since they were dating. For whatever reason, I think they got it or acquired it the same day they went to go see Star Wars in the movie theater. Now, kids, we're talking about the
original.
The originals. Okay, the first couple ones. Okay, so but there's a houseplant that outdates me that they have kept alive.
We need to find out what that is.
She's
my only chance.
She has repotted it, and it's amazing.
Oh,
I'm gonna have to.
Okay, she's done all that. I can't.
I know. I'll have her take a picture of it and send it to me because that is something that's just a random fact, but there is a houseplant that outdates me. And I just had to share that.
So. All right. Well, one of the things that came about when Tori and I were talking and prepping a little bit for this was, what do we all just kind of our own taking care of ourselves look like? And most of us drink quite a bit of coffee.
Yeah.
We sometimes skip breakfast because we just have to get on with our day.
Yep. Because you're too busy making breakfast for tiny humans.
Yeah.
That you're like, oh, well, when they're taken care of, then I'll take my breakfast, which is the perfect example. I had my breakfast at 11 o'clock when you came over.
Uh-huh.
I made my breakfast. We were talking about this episode.
Yeah.
So.
And then, let's talk about sleep and the lack thereof, or at least prioritizing it. There's how many times do I go to bed at like 9 or 9:30 and I'm like, I'm totally going to go to bed. And then by 11, I was like, I'm still not asleep.
Because you're scrolling your phone or whatever. I've also been totally guilty of, just because you're in bed sleeping doesn't mean it's good sleep.
Yeah.
Like the quality sleep, like you've struggled with insomnia.
Yeah, I haven't struggled with insomnia a lot.
So, just because you're sleeping doesn't mean it's quality sleep.
Yep. And all the years of lack of sleep from having kids and having little ones, and that adds up.
Yeah. Sleep is not a bank where you can not sleep for 3 days and then try to catch up on the weekend. It just doesn't work that way.
Yeah. It takes us a lot longer too.
Yeah. But then also things like we've been told all our, our whole existence, it feels like you got to work out every single day, even if it's 30 minutes or 15 minutes twice a day or whatever. That's something that's been told that we've got to do.
And then also like all the products that we use, there is toxic products, non-toxic products. And this is just heads up that we know that the information we're sharing is overwhelming. We're going to get to the part where hopefully it doesn't seem so overwhelming, but this is just everything we've been told. And yes, we try to have products that are less toxic and putting on our skin and putting in our bodies. And then it becomes overwhelming.
Yeah. Like all of a sudden, you have one party and all of a sudden you need to replace all the cleaning supplies in your house and totally been there, done that. And then, or I've made slow switches on clean products for beauty products or whatever, lotions, makeup, things like that. And then there's some that I'm not giving up. Sorry.
Yeah.
If it's a mascara that kills me, it's a mascara that kills me.
Yeah. Well, I'm still trying to find that natural deodorant that works. I've tried a few. Can't stand them.
I know. Right.
So
I have a recommendation. I'll tell you if you like it.
Okay.
I'll have you try it.
Okay.
Maybe they'll become a sponsor. I'm not mentioning them now because they're not paying me.
Yeah, there you go.
So, but all that to say, and then we wonder why, when we go in for our yearly checkup or when we finally feel crappy enough to go into a doctor's office and say, okay, I'm just tired all the time. Why is it? And the doctor's like, well, this is my story, actually. I went in, this was years ago when I was in Dallas. I went in and I was like, okay, like I am tired all of the time. Like I don't have any get up and go. I don't have any of this. And she's like, okay, well, we'll do blood work. And I was like, also like a key word. I hear all my friends, well, I've got thyroid issues and da-da-da-da. And then I'm like, well, could it be my thyroid? And so all she did, I went, got my blood taken, and then my numbers came back. And she's like, well, your blood's normal. Your thyroid levels are normal. And so, you're just a mom of little. So this is just the season you're in.
Good luck.
Thanks. And I walked away with that. And I was like, thanks for nothing. But it still didn't feel right. Like it still didn't feel right. And I
think that's where women stop though. Like they get an answer and an answer's an answer. And it's that everything's okay. And then you just keep on going. And
because you're like, okay, well, she's probably right. And let's be honest, it takes more work to go, yeah, but that's not what I want. This can't be normal, right? Like if in the big scheme of things, okay, yes, we live in an American society and stress and there's so much more now than there was 50 years ago, 100 years ago. Yes, there's a complete difference. However, I refuse to believe that God allows us, like, yes, there's going to be a season where you have a newborn and you don't sleep and you don't eat well, all those things, right? But I refuse to believe that we're supposed to live and feel this crappy, this tired, this overworked, this overwhelmed, this blank. Like I refuse to believe that that's how he created our bodies in a way. Yes, I have responsibility on some things, what I put in my body, what I put on my body, in my body, surround my body.
Yeah, right.
With, right? We take personal responsibility for those. Those are all choices we make.
Yep.
But again, on the internal side, I refuse to believe that, that feeling crappy is normal.
Yeah. My results in having answers is what really just kind of is the motivator of this conversation and how we found Amy. I shared that on that episode is I was seeking more information. I am definitely not someone that just settles in with this is normal. Years ago, back in my college days when I was having all these stomach issues and I was having colonoscopy and I got on medicine for it and, you just have IBS and all these things. It's like, okay, well, clearly I had something wrong, but nobody back in, let's see, what year was that? 1998 to 2002, roughly that time frame. Nobody was talking about gut health. And I didn't learn about that for like 12 more years. And I just battled so much. And I asked so many questions. And seriously, I feel like my health journey has been my whole freaking life.
Yeah.
And and I think a lot of women feel that way too, because you're figuring out yourself. Maybe you're somebody who focused on working out and eating right and doing all the things when you were, in your 20s and so forth. But then when you get into the childbearing years and you start to have kids and you go through all of that you go through, your body takes on a whole lot of change, which our point is that God created our bodies to do these very amazing, incredible things. And we only have one body, and it is our temple. And that is the way we are supposed to treat it.
Not our temple. It's
his temple. Thank you.
Yep.
But that's how we're supposed to treat it. And we don't.
Right. Because society has told us, right? The reason that we work out, the reason that we eat less, right? Work out more, eat less. That's ground zero. That's what you need to do, right?
That's definition of diet culture.
Right. And why you do that is, because you want to look attractive.
Yeah.
You want to be thinner. You want to lose the weight. And that's why you do it. Then now there's the other side of society or culture who has gone and said, no. Yes, those are byproducts, thinner, and that's a byproduct. But you're doing this because you want to be healthy.
Mm-hmm.
You want to be healthy. And as we talked to Amy, finding out that there's actually a eating disorder that is going so far healthy that your body, you're starving it still of what it needs. We have gone that route. But if you're going, okay, then why on earth am I going to the gym? I thought I was going to the gym to be healthier. Yes, you are. You're going to be healthier, potentially, if that's what your body needs. But the overall reason for addressing your body and taking your body into consideration is because, like Tracy said, you're given one body. This is the only one we get. And in order for God to work through you, your body must be in the physical capacity it needs to be in. Because what if, now, not all of us need to be missionaries backpacking through Europe, okay? And carrying 1,000 Bibles on our back, to pass out to every, bystander. No, but they're going to need a certain body type for that. They're going to need to have some physical health and attributes for that kind of mission that God's got them on. You and I are in the midst of motherhood, and we need to have the energy, the patience. Lord, please give us patience. No, actually, I've stopped praying for that because I have figured out that God actually doesn't give you patience. He gives you opportunity to be patient.
Oh.
And I'm tired of the opportunity.
I feel like that's not what I meant.
No, I don't need opportunity to be patient, Lord. I just need that overwhelming patience. Side note. But we need the mental clarity. We need the order. That's a completely different type of body that we need than somebody who is a missionary in Europe per se. So that's why our bodies, we have to quit listening to, we're going to send you, this is very contradicting in the fact that we're going to say, quit listening to what everybody else is saying that your body needs.
Even us.
Okay. There's that.
Listening.
But start listening to your body. Okay. Slow down enough to find out. I was just talking to a friend yesterday about it. After meals, how often do we stop and go, gosh, I feel really bloated after that. I wonder why that is. Or, could it have been my body doesn't do well with nightshade types of produce, or my body doesn't do with gluten or dairy or whatever. But no, we don't even stop to think about it. We pop a Gas X or whatever it is and move along. And then we're like, okay. And then we go out to dinner with our friends. So what? We don't slow down enough to ask ourselves the questions. And so while I am telling you, we're telling you, yes, now's the time to start listening to what your body is telling you. Slow down enough, but then also be strong enough and courageous enough to keep asking questions and to keep finding people who will help you find the answers. Just because somebody has a medical degree. All right. This
disclaimer.
Please. This episode, we are not what's a disclaimer? We're not this. Do not let this evidence.
We're not nurses. We don't have degrees.
We don't. We do not. But
we do not diagnose. We do not claim.
Yes, this exactly. All of that.
But
we've
been through a lot of crap.
We have. But just because the doctor has a degree on their wall does not mean that they know more about your body than you do. And just because they take a blood test that tells you, no, your numbers look great,
doesn't mean it's the full story.
Doesn't mean the full story. What if they took the wrong blood test? What if they're not looking at, like we were talking about, individual numbers versus, okay, that your individual thyroid number looks great, but when you have that thyroid number and this number over here, that means something else. And so if they're not looking at the full picture, like it's whole body health, and you have to consider that. And so while if a doctor tells you, no, you're fine, but you don't feel fine, don't stop asking questions. Don't stop looking for somebody who's going to listen, to take the time, and for you to find the answers that you need.
Yeah. And my personal story, I'll just brief on it. This has been my story for like the last really 3 years. Every time I would go to my general, I want to say OB, but nope, haven't had a baby in a few years. My gynecologist, thank you.
We're still working on Tracy's brain fog.
Brain fog is healing, but it is not there yet. That is one of my largest symptoms. Sucks. But it is something that I would go and I would ask these questions and I would say, this is what's going on with my cycles. And you guys, 3 years ago, I started all over the place with, not having regularly scheduled programming of my cycles. And I got this book and listened to this podcast. One of the podcasts I will actually put in the show notes. It's Biohacking Your Hormones. It's really awesome. And I listened to this lady and I bought her book. It's called In the Flow. And it taught me that there are 4 weeks to your cycle and you can actually work out, eat, sleep, and do specific things for each week of your cycle that will help you function, your body function more properly. And that is also like you will have more energy to work. You will have better speaking ability. You will have just all these different things. And then you'll have a week of just resting and writing and soaking it up. And it's incredible. Absolutely love the book. I will tag that as well in the show notes. So I started learning all about it because, I'm a fixer of myself and I just start finding the answers. I don't settle. And so I started doing all of that and it helped for a short period of time. And I ended up last fall at my gynecologist again because I had an ovarian cyst rupture. Yep, I've had cysts for years and that's just a whole nother story. But I had one rupture that was not healing as quickly as I had expected and had gone in and I just kept telling her, like, there's something else wrong. Like, I need answers. And she's like, how long has this been going on? And, it's not in her timeline, that it fit all the details. And so she then just suggested that she could put me on birth control. I'm like, honey, I'm 42 years old and I don't need synthetic birth control to balance my hormones just for me to be okay. I need answers. I believe in the root cause and healing from the inside out. And I have for years. And I'm not about to start now to just put a Band-Aid on it even more.
Right.
And I just said, I would like some blood work. And she's like, well, I don't really see what that's going to be beneficial for right now. I say we give it about 3 more months. And I was like, blood work. So I get blood work.
Pause for a moment.
Yeah.
I want to just remind our listeners, remember, who finds the doctor? You do. You are the client. You are the customer. Okay? Remember that. When it comes to doctors, if you're not getting the customer service when you say, no, really, I would like blood work, you fire them and you find somebody else. So and this will be a completely different episode, but again, society and culture tells us, well, we don't know anything because we don't have a medical degree and I didn't go to med school. And so I need to take somebody else's idea of what they know in my body. They have there are certain things that they have more knowledge on, but only I know how I feel and what feels right and normal. But don't forget that you can fire your doctor and find another one.
Yeah. And mind you, we absolutely believe in medicine and we believe in being able to be healed and take things for what our body needs at the right time. But I also don't believe in taking it without actually knowing why we're taking it.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So it continued on with that. I did get a phone call and she was very shocked and sorry that I was correct and she was wrong. And I had some numbers that were tested. Some of my blood work showed that I was already perimenopausal, which is reason for all these last few years of craziness. But my thyroid was normal. I was like, sure doesn't feel like it because I have every symptom in the book for a thyroid disorder, but that's okay. So I had about 2 weeks just kind of sat on that information and realized that it still wasn't enough. I'm like, I'm not at 42 going to be perimenopausal and just be okay with it. Like, that may be what it is, but I still didn't trust it. And so our daughter had already been working with a homeopathic doctor, which had been for months, which is incredible, and has done amazing things with healing her gut and a lot of things to help with her anxiety. And I went and I got some of my own blood work done there, and it was a fuller panel and everything showed up on there. And so, yes, I have a lot of other things that I'm working through, thyroid being one of them, a lot of deficiencies, a lot of inflammation markers and things that now make sense. And it's just a piece of the puzzle for my health journey that makes you slow down and, one, be thankful that there is answers, but it puts all the pieces of the puzzle together that I've been doing for the last 3 years. Like, I went gluten-free 2 years ago. And I did it because I thought, well, maybe it'll help me feel better because I wasn't feeling great. Well, it helped me feel better, but it also wasn't the answer. I read another book, which is fantastic. It's called Glucose Revolution. And it just really talks about how when you're eating, there's an order in which you can eat your food. There's certain foods you should have at certain times of the day. It just helps regulate your glucose, which helps regulate your hormones. Because again, I knew my hormones were off. And so there's all those things that, like, pieces of the puzzle that I was putting together that got me to continue to advocate to where I am now.
Hey, Housewives, we want to share with you one of the resources we absolutely love and use all the time. It is the Audible Premium Plus membership. You know how we talk about books pretty much every episode?
Our new podcast one day will be a book and a podcast.
Exactly.
We love to read.
Exactly.
But do we have time? No.
So we're sharing with you guys the Audible Premium Plus membership because that's how we consume all these books.
We know you're in the carpool lanes. We know you're driving your kids to and from practices. You're always on the go, doing laundry, doing dishes, and you can have those AirPods in your ears. With this membership, you get 1 free Audible to start. And if you're an Amazon Prime member, you get 2 free audiobooks.
Isn't that incredible? And then let's say there's some extra books that you want for the month. You get 30% off the price. So you're saving money there too. And you can cancel at any time. And if you cancel, the books that you've already purchased or already gotten through the membership are yours to keep, no matter what. And you get unlimited access to Audible Plus, the catalog, and they've got their own books. They've got Audible Originals, their own original podcasts, so you can't find anywhere else. It's an incredible resource for moms on the go. And so we'll put the link in the show notes for you. And this is a perfect way. If you want to get some more reading in, you can absolutely do it this way and support our podcast. And if they don't know you, you have worked with a health and wellness supplemental company for 8 years now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you were taking, I'm just going to list off some supplements that you've been taking. You've been taking a multivitamin that had folate instead of folic acid. Okay. You've been taking omegas, 3, 6, 9, 7, right? All of that. You've been taking things
Probiotics,
5-stranded probiotics that also has a digestive enzyme and which also has an antifungal in it, right? Magnesium and calcium. You've been very consistent in those.
All great things. But if your body is full of toxins,
right,
nothing's going to absorb and balance.
Right. So to say that, like, it's not like all of a sudden you just, walked out of a McDonald's and were like, wow, I do feel like crap. I mean, for 8 years, you've been doing the work just because you've been putting the supplements in and they made a difference.
That was also just a milestone, though. For to go backwards, though, I've been doing this for 15 to 20 years. I've been working on my health. Because remember, back when in college is when I started to feel not so great. So I've been doing all these little pieces of the puzzle that is just enough to suffice me to get through the season that I'm in.
Right.
And that's what Plexus has done and will continue to do. I mean, it is the top of the line products. I will always get to use these products. I'm super thankful that my homeopath looked at them and was like, yep, these are great. And the ones that I've been able to take with some of the other additional ones that I've needed for my support. But it is something that, again, it worked and helped for like 5, 6, 7 years. And it's still working. The difference is I now need other support because I hadn't really figured it out.
And it's a tool in your toolbox, right? Yeah. Like, and that's what I have such a hard time when people are like, no, I'm good. I do X, Y, and Z. Well, but if there's something else in the toolbox that'll help you, like how many screwdrivers do we have? You have 10. You have 10. And this surprises women, but there's a different size screw for everything. Mm-hmm. I mean, the same one that is for your, a charger battery plug thing is completely different than you got the one that's for the outside playhouse. I mean, there's different sizes. So that is why we have so many different things. And some are for a season. Yeah. And you use them to detox, to get to a point you're like, okay. And then, because there was a season where he got you off all of your supplements. Mm-hmm. So your body could detox.
Clean and heal.
Clean and
detox.
Detox properly without the other stuff. And then he said, okay, now let's move back and put the clean stuff back in. Mm-hmm. And he moved you through that. And so like, there is not a one size fits all. There's just not.
No.
And as much as I've learned from Tracy's story and then things that I've tried, she's tried, we both love the sauna because that's great. I mean, it's just what works for somebody does not work for everybody. Why on earth would I think, yes, there are similar things that I'm like, ooh, I should try that Tracy's tried. But why on earth would I think the exact same protocol that she's doing would work for my body when she grew up on a farm? Mm-hmm. She had 4 kids in 6 years. She was a runner. She was the athlete in school and college. Like, she has a completely different body type than I do of the thing, so why on earth would I think her protocol should be the same as mine?
Well, and not only that, let's talk about family history. There's so many pieces of the puzzle that come into it. Our bodies have their own science, our own things that have carried on. And that's like just how we were created. But the external things like stress and sleep, and again, all these other things that we put into our body or on our bodies is what plays a part in who we are. And if we are living for our purpose, what God has called us to be doing, and if we're feeling fulfilled. And I think the reason that I kind of just opened up and shared my story a little bit is because I was frustrated. I'm still frustrated.
You are.
But I feel like I'm getting somewhere. And I know a lot of women are feeling like that. And there are a lot of things that are going on. And I mean, grief plays a part in it. If you've lost a loved one, you've had cancer, there's cancer in your family. Like, there is so much that plays a part. And here we are, we're sitting behind our phones or our computers and scrolling social media and seeing what's out there and what all these other people are doing. And we're comparing our stories to their stories. And you don't know their story. And even if you did know their full story and where they're at, and if you know me and you know my full story, it isn't yours. Like, your body has a completely different chemical balance as well. And when I did my full toxology report to find out what was inside my body that was holding me back and causing me to have so much inflammation, I'm like, how? I eat clean. I have done the things. I have a whole lot of clean products, clearly, except for my deodorant and some other things, like I do the things and I always drink my water and yada, 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 but it's still not enough for my body.
Right.
But if some of you did what I did, you'd be a heck of a lot healthier.
Right. And that's and we don't have to go while I'm a very curious person when it comes to our bodies. And while I would love to go and get the blood test, the urine test, and all of the things you've done to know all the things, I don't feel the way that you feel.
You don't have the same purpose. You don't need that at all.
Exactly.
But years ago, I wanted to do that. And I wouldn't let myself because I was afraid of how much it would cost or all these other things. And what if I was wrong? I held back for years doing this. I've said I've wanted to see a naturopath for years.
Yep.
And the reason I got to a breaking point. I just couldn't go anymore.
Yeah.
Couldn't do anymore. And I'm like, there's something wrong. And if I don't get this fixed, and I mean, yeah, all the adrenal fatigue that has screwed up my hormones because it's out. Like I'm so jacked up.
Well, but I just look at your year of 2022 as a year of, like, we say the be still, but your year has been such a year of healing, 2022.
Yeah.
Because, I mean,
the beginning of it.
Yes.
The discovery of it.
Well, the discovery, but like I look back was when you started, therapy with Noreen.
Yep.
And that was mental and emotional healing, right? And then you and Chris went and he started there with you. And like that's marital healing.
Yeah.
And then you have got, Braylon's when you started to do all of the stuff for her, which led you into your own physical healing. Like there's so many things and steps of just like, when a wound starts to scab over, it's ugly as all get out.
Yeah.
But it's healing, and it's coming around, like there will still, it's going to take a while. But I just see I'm just seeing that theme all over 2022.
Well, thank you.
It only took me to March to get that. But I found a theme. Hey,
it's good.
Yeah, so now you're probably listening to this going, oh my God, where do I start? Like,
that's not what our intention is.
Not at all.
We really do want to remind you it's not a one size fits all. And we want you to ask questions and just keep searching, because we both, in how many years, we've been together 6 years, almost 5 years of knowing each other. We've walked through a whole lot of health stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Clearly, COVID.
Right.
And that
COVID was this thing. Do you guys remember this thing? No.
I mean, ladies, stress, hormones. Oh,
I mean, we could throw all the kind of keywords and SEO words on this thing.
But what do we recommend so that it's not so overwhelming?
Right. Exactly. What do we recommend? The first and foremost we want to say is you have to stop and listen to your body. Quit listening to all the noise and the distractions around you and listen to your body. Because if you do not, and maybe it just starts with something as simple as, I'm going to make a food journal. Sounds too simple. Sounds too easy. Like, well, what would that do? Is like, write down everything that you eat. And then after an hour you eat it, write down how your body feels. I feel more tired. I feel sluggish. I feel, like
energized. This fueled my body.
Right. I feel good. Or, so start. I mean, even if that's where you start, and that is being still, because you are having to sit down and think about your physical being, and maybe you write down in the mornings, did I wake up feeling tired? Did I wake up already looking forward to my nap this afternoon? Did I wake up already looking forward to, oh my God, it's going to be another 12 hours before I can go to bed? Or, like, what does that feel like? Then, at bedtime, are you writing, do you write down something as far as like, I crawl into bed absolutely exhausted and then I lay there for 3 hours and I can't close my eyes?
Yeah.
Like, okay, write that, so maybe it's just making those mental notes.
And it's information. It's your body is sending you information. Brain
all
fog.
Day.
Yeah.
All day, every
all the
day.
things. The brain fog, the lack of recovery from a workout. That is like one of my largest symptoms. And I was like, why? Like, what's wrong? I've tried all different kinds of workouts. So why can I not recover? Like, that was a piece of mine. There's so many other things and the insomnia was one of them. And believe it or not, I had no idea. This is like just side note. With my insomnia, I was struggling and I could get to sleep. I was so exhausted. I'd get to sleep, but I would wake up in the middle of the night and I would be awake. Well, what typically happens, and again, don't quote me. I didn't study this. This is just secondhand information. I would wake up and I'd be awake and I'm like, what's going on? Why can't I just settle down? Well, your adrenal glands are supposed to provide that, like, hey, okay, go back to sleep, rest. You've got this. I'm going to take care of that for you. Well, since mine were tanked and I don't have functioning ones currently, my adrenaline kicks in.
Oh.
And so my adrenaline was like, I've got your back up. And then all of a sudden, that's why I couldn't sleep. And I would be awake for hours in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Now, we got a good balance because I'm sleeping again and it's great.
So I'm going to kind of flip this on in a different direction, because during this time, Andrew and we've started seeing a functional medical doctor, and while Tracy's going the homeopathic route, and if there's a natural option, I'm all about the natural option. But I'm also not one to say that there's not a place for medication. I take antidepressants, and I've had anti-anxiety medication for years. And so I do believe that there is a place for prescription medication. And something that Andrew and I, our physician, we've talked about is basically Americanitis, and how in the lifestyle that we live today is so stressful. The diet, American Standard Diet, is awful. Or Standard American Diet, that's right, is awful. The workload, the lack of exercise, the lack of sleep, things like that. And so that he's worked with us on the fact of how your serotonin is not talking to your adrenaline. And those neurotransmitters, I believe, if you're a doctor and I'm saying this wrong, or a neurologist.
Please hope correct you are a doctor or a neurologist listening to our podcast.
That would be such a compliment. Even if you're not, maybe just tell us you are. But how those have come unconnected. And because of that, we are constantly living in the fight or flight mode all the time. And so, again, the adrenal and our adrenaline is coming up and going, okay, wait, hold on. Do I have to handle this? Do I not have to handle this? What do I do? Going back and forth. And so we've actually worked with, again, I've been on antidepressants for a very long time. And my doctor essentially said, he goes, well, yeah, but where's your joy and your motivation level? Like, where's that at? And honestly, I was like, oh my gosh, like, you don't understand. I've always thought that I've been on the wrong dose of something, or trying to move a dose slower because maybe I have too much of the antidepressant, because that motivation and that joy has just never fully been there. And I've always thought it's because of the antidepressants. And while it is to a certain extent, but he's like, no, he's like, it's also because your adrenaline level has been tanked because your serotonin has nothing to talk to. And he goes, we're going to get you on something that'll help bring that up. And so that it remembers that those two are connected. And since getting on that medication, he goes, when you were on an antidepressant, he was like it was like moving a teeter-totter. He's like, but only trying to move it one way to find the exact where you need to be exactly. He goes, that's really hard to fine tune just one side.
Yeah.
He goes, the fact that we're adding something else in here, he goes, we can move it more fine tunedly, and we can hit that to bring that joy, that motivation level up for you much more. And he's 100% right. And I have seen such a huge difference in it for myself and Andrew. And like, that's the flip side, right? But that was us finding more information. I mean, my doctor's like, he's like, unless you want to be Amish, he's like, unless you can have a magic wand and change your parents, he's like, you've got to work with what you got.
Yeah.
And is this a forever solution? No. He said, we're going to do this for a set time period, because after enough time, he's like, those receptors are going to start talking to each other, and then we can slowly back things away and see how they've reconnected. And he goes, but if you have felt like you've been digging with your hands for the last 10 years and all of a sudden somebody hands you a shovel, that's going to feel like somebody flipped on the freaking light.
Yeah, I feel that. That's such a good analogy.
And he goes, so sure, we can try, hopefully your body can reheal and make that happen. And he goes, but if it doesn't, and we take the medication away, do you want to go back to digging with your hands? And I'm like, no, I don't. If this is how my body can function to the best of its ability, and this is what it needs, there's a reason I was born with modern medicine, and I'm okay with that. But those were all, again, we're not saying that medication, there's not a place for medication. We're not saying that there's you don't need a real doctor, find your own answers. What we're saying is that there's a healthy balance of both and just keep asking questions and keep asking, go both directions and find somebody who will listen to you and go, oh my gosh, you'll know when it makes sense.
Yeah.
I guarantee, because I don't have a medical degree, but as soon as I heard my doctor start talking to me and explaining it, I'm like, oh my goodness, he's inside my head.
Same. Yep.
Right.
And when I could actually see it in numbers, what I was feeling on the inside, and I started like researching even more and trying to understand, I'm like, thank you. I'm not crazy. And clearly, neither are you. You're not crazy. You're not alone. And if you're struggling with your health and you've made it this far, you just want answers and information. And we are giving you permission to continue seeking that out.
There are people out there. There are. It takes time and perseverance. Keep persevering. It will pay off when you're going there. So,
yep. We just want to leave you with continue to make yourself a priority. Just like we said at the very beginning, you have one body and it is his temple for you to do his good in this world. And you're already doing it. You're living, you're, doing your best. And I asked Tori this the other day in regards to something we were talking about. And I said, is this the best it's going to be or is it going to get better? I'm like, are you happy with this or do you want it to be better? And if your answer is that you want it to be better, then we want you to keep working and making yourself a priority.
Absolutely. But don't forget, sometimes making yourself a priority also looks like being still.
Oh, that's a whole nother topic. That was really hard for me.
I didn't mean that for any of y'all. That was really just for Tracy.
I cried for months.
Yeah,
I did. But I knew I needed it.
Right.
And Jesus worked really, really hard on my heart.
So don't forget that that's sometimes forward movement is just you being still. Exodus 14:14. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. And that's true in all circumstances.
Yep. And we encourage you with that. And until next week, housewives.
Until next time.
Have a good week.
Bye.
Whether we made you laugh or cry today, we pray you feel appreciated, bolder and braver than yesterday, stronger and more faithful for tomorrow, and living in who you were made to be today.
Join our online community on Facebook, link in the show notes. And be sure to review and subscribe on Apple Podcasts or wherever you enjoy listening. Until next time, housewives, we give you permission to walk confidently, free, and to be intentional in your slippers or stilettos.